think you guys might be right. You're making me curious. I might have to start watching The Wire. At After the lift yesterday, I was like, all right, anybody got any good show recommendations? Are are some of you guys crazy? You really think I haven't seen Attack on Titan? Come on, I was there for the OG days. I was waiting for season 2 of Attack on Titan to get animated, and I've been around. Don't be fooled. But plan for today: back. Like I said, back is not leaving the workout split. Don't worry. It's just getting hit half the time that chest, arms, and legs are. Because out of those big four groups, legs, chest, back, and arms, my back is doing the best. So I want all my weak points to come up and match. And this isn't the first time I've done this. I've actually gone through periods of time, like probably about twice so far. Have I gone like 4, 5 months with no back training? Just because my back's always been a strong point. I think half of the reason for that is from doing back when I did gymnastics as a kid. All the workouts we did were like body weight stuff. So if you're a real calisthenics fan, if that's your thing, odds are your pressing strength probably isn't like crazy, but your pulling strength would be fucking legit because that's all you do. Or like if you're really into climbing, then yeah, you're probably gonna have a solid ass fucking grip and pulling strength. But pushing, you may be a little bit behind. So if you do a ton of fucking rock climbing in tandem with weightlifting, then you can probably chill out on back for the weightlifting side of things if you're kind of aiming for muscle growth a little and put more energy into, pressing and legs and everything else. But if you really want to get extra good at the rock climbing side of things, then you probably aren't putting too much emphasis into your weight training unless you're, only doing strength based weight training. Because if you get too heavy, I mean, fuck, man, you're not going to be able to pull yourself up. But yeah, plan for back as usual: pull downs, pullovers, and rows. That's really all there is. But don't be fooled. There's still a fucking bazillion different ways to do it, especially because the angle at which you can pull from can be pretty much adjusted like infinitely. Like I can start doing rows, right, straight towards my body, like almost at a 90-degree angle to like my spine, like a seated cable row. Or I could kind of stand up next to the cables and do more of like an incline shrug, kind of trap focus row. Or single arm, a little bit more of a pull down kind of row combination. I mean, it's really endless, right? With back, especially once you can actually feel your lats firing instead of just feeling like you're pulling from your hands and using your biceps and your forearms. Like once you can actually target your back, then you can kind of do whatever. Like there's back machines, there's a pull down machine, there's a cable machine, there's a couple rowing machines. But even if all I had access to was like a bench to sit down on and like an adjustable cable stack, that would be all I need for a solid back workout. I wouldn't want to be limited to that forever, but just for a couple lifts, dude, because that's all I'm doing. Pulling from either kind of below my body, straight towards my body, above my body, plus pullovers. I mean, that's kind of it. So out of all my lifts, I think my back days are the most variable in terms of movements, orders, like whether I start with a really heavy set or I start with a lighter squeezing set. It's kind of up to my own imagination. But that's kind of given the fact that I've done, at this point, I don't know how many back days. I think like maybe 600, 500. I've done X amount of back days. So I kind of have a good understanding of what makes up a good back workout for me specifically. If you're a guy who, for whatever reason, you love the feeling of doing a lot of machine based rows, you can really feel your whole back firing. That's how you can go the hardest. Then for you, your workouts would probably be better suited doing those. But, for me, after all these lifts, I've kind of gotten the feeling like, okay, I want to do these pull downs. I like this machine. Oh, I don't like doing these. I don't like eventually you kind of reach a point of understanding of almost like having a taste for what you're going to do for that muscle group. And that just comes with experience, you know? Like, on a more kind of simplified note, in terms of squatting, everybody's going to squat in a different way. I mean, some guys love squatting high bar. They put the bar up on their traps. I cannot. I can't even put one plate on my fucking traps. It fucking hurts me. I mean, I could, but it's really fucking uncomfortable. And I would never do like my real squatting weight. I've got to do kind of a low bar, like middle of the back, right on my traps and rear delts kind of way. But even so, of course, that's going to be a variable person to person. And then foot stance and like toe angle, that's gonna be fucking tremendously different. Because you got to remember, everybody has differently like internally rotated hips and knees, and like limb length and everything else. So none of this stuff, none of working out should be cookie cutter. You know, none of this should be real like, yo, just follow it perfectly to the book. Uh, that book wasn't written for you specifically. Now, there are kind of overarching basics which are going to apply to pretty much everybody. You know, I'm talking progressive overload. I'm talking, you know, how much volume you should be doing. I like kind of around 8 sets per lift per muscle group. Calories in, calories out, of course, do your cardio. But the real kind of finer details of how your workouts really look, set to set, movement to movement, reps to reps, that's, you know, there's no one right answer. Guys get jacked doing completely different styles of working out. So half of what I'm kind of, I don't want to say preaching, but kind of like standing for is, oh goodness, like whatever way that you have to develop a routine, and like whoever you listen to, whatever information actually kind of makes sense, which you can digest and you can say like, okay, yeah, I think I'm going to start my back day off with lats because I want to get really direct lat work. And then once they're fatigued, I'm going to start doing rows because then my lats are already fatigued, so I can get more direct work on my mid traps. And like, you know, whatever kind of jargon you end up sort of thinking about, which is going to decide what movements you do, I think that's kind of what you should follow. You know, and make sure you're getting your information from a solid source. But the guy who works out because he knows what he's about to do and why will work out more effectively than somebody who's just following a plan kind of blindly, or just sort of like jumping from movement to movement without much real reason, because you know you're lifting in kind of an aimless way at that point. Like when I sit down on a lat pull down, I know that I'm aiming directly at my lats and I'm trying to fucking destroy them as hard as I can. So that lets me focus on them extra hard. Whereas if you put somebody who's not really experienced with working out yet on a lat pull down, they might not really get what they're doing. You know, I mean, people who really don't know about working out, they don't even know what muscles a lat pull down is targeting, you know? So really kind of get fucking personal with what you're doing. And if you have a reason for doing every set, I think it's going to let you do those sets harder. But they close in an hour, so let's get back started. More than enough time, but I don't want to play on my phone for 20 minutes and dilly-dally first. So let's get in there. Stacking the plate adds up to just about enough weight. So single arm pull downs. And even though this kind of, it's a little bit row-esque because I am pulling them from in front of my body, the fact that I'm leaning forwards a little bit, this really is pretty much just a single arm pull down. I just like it on a cable machine like this because all the pulleys make the tension feel much more constant, if you get what I'm saying there. But I'll start on the left side and just go from there. All right. Ugh. 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 Two more, I think. Oh my gosh.
Attention all YMCA members and guests. The time is now 5:30 and the YMCA will be closing in 30 minutes. Yes, the Y will close in 30 minutes. We're doing open in 5:30 and just want to bring you the message tonight.
Okay. Oh. All right. One more. But on this set, instead of leaning so far forward, you can lean back a little. Make it a little more of a row. Get some more mid-back activation. Oh. Okay. Oh. Oh my God. Okay. Let's go to some seated rows conventional style. Oh. Even though I'm only 3 sets deep, my lats are already well on their way to being totally cooked. Oh, so let's just keep up this energy. Move on. This stack only goes up to 200 pounds. I can do a 300-pound stack as like a heavy kind of nasty set, but 200 slow, controlling, squeeze focused, that's fucking perfect. So I think I'm gonna make these a little bit of a tempo rep, at least for this first set, because I'm gonna camp out here for a minute. But for this first set at least, I'm thinking kind of come up halfway, pause, then finish the rep, which in terms of fucking, building up your muscular or your mind muscle connection, doing reps like that actually fucking help. If I'm sitting here doing dumbbell curls, just light, nothing, halfway up, pause. The only thing that's gonna move that weight and continue the rep is if I start fucking manually sending signals to my fucking biceps. You can kind of get into a little bit of a habit of forcing the weight around, at least in a way that's not actually potentially beneficial. Because if I just rip the weight from the beginning, I don't even have to seriously fucking contract my traps to finish the rep. The weight's already moving. I'm already riding its momentum. So by doing these slower controlled reps, I do feel much more of a squeeze. But let's not to discredit a heavy nasty set. They're just different. Let's take a second. Turn it into a rest pause set. Okay. All right. A few more. Let's make that a drop set. I was gonna do a rest pause, but I think a drop would be better. Extra wide for this light portion. Okay. One more. Drop set just like that. I accidentally hit the record button twice, but I just did that same set as the last one. Just again, drop set everything. But I was saying, which usually if I miss a clip, I just skip it. But the reason I'm feeling a ton of fucking upper back with these reps is because I'm not pulling the bar to my mid stomach. Because you got to think, if you're doing rows this low to your body, your arms are down here. That's all fucking lats, or at least a good chunk of it. No, if you do a wide kind of grip on a straight bar like this, flare your elbows up a little bit. I mean, once you try it, you'll feel it, but all fucking mid traps, fucking feeling my scapula fucking almost bump into itself. You get the gist. But let's move on. Nearly done. Let's just do one set of pull downs here. There's potential for a drop set or a rest pause set, but to be determined. Let me pick a better song. Actually, no, this is good. There we go. Oh, actually, gotta go thumbless. Yeah. No. Okay. Okay. Let's do rest pause every 10 reps. See how many I can get. Okay. Seems I overestimated my strength. Oh, but nice finisher. Lat work, mid back, trap work. Let's go do some pump work, god damn it. Or at least some pump viewing. We're done. There we go. So that was that 3 or only 2 sets of those single arm rows? No, there's 3. So 3 of those, 3 of the seated cable rows, and then 1 pull down kind of rest pause set. 7 sets. I feel like I hit my whole back. I'm seeing some comments. I just saw one from somebody where he's like, I like the idea of doing. He's like, I like the idea of doing lower volume, but I've got a slow metabolism, so I'm going to stick to 18 sets per body part per lift. What? I don't. Let's talk about it after. Let's just pose first, before I spend too much energy drawing blood to my brain trying to think and sucking it out of my lats and my traps and everything else. Let's get a good look at back fully pumped before we start getting into anything fucking theoretical about training. Boy, I did not weigh myself this morning, but 2 days ago, morning weight was 256. Now I'm inclined to believe I just had some extra food in my stomach from the night before, but I'll make sure I weigh myself tomorrow morning, empty stomach, and really see where we're at 2 weeks deep into a nice little calorie surplus. Oh man. I'm feeling pretty fucking wide. Ooh. It's hard to make sure I'm in frame, but there we go. Oh. Oh my gosh. All right. Lats fucking swollen to all heck. Same thing with mid traps, everything else. Very fucking nice. But no, so when it comes to your volume per workout, per lift, I'm reasonably inclined to believe that what I'm about to describe is a very good starting point in terms of how your week's training volume should look. I think hitting every muscle about twice a week is a solid frequency. Once you become used to weight training, if you do chest on Monday, by the time Thursday rolls around, I think your chest is going to be recovered. Twice a week, that's a solid frequency. And then each lift, like let's say I hit chest Monday and Thursday with all sorts of every other body part in between, I'm inclined to think fucking around like this. You could do fucking 6, you could do 12, but I think around 8 hard, legit working sets, I feel like that's about right for anybody. Now, of course, it's going to change. I mean, somebody might do better with 7 sets on one day, or maybe you're not as rested, so maybe the better move would be do like a lighter volume, 5-set workout. It's all going to depend on the fucking day. But if you come to me and you say, Sam, can you rate my workout? And it's a 20-set chest day, let's just say I'm going to have some critiques. But if you're growing then what you're doing is working, you know? The only issue is how long is that going to last for, right? I've gone through fucking periods of time where I was doing what I would say now was a less than optimal routine. I bring this up a lot when I was a fucking beginner. When I was a beginner, dude, I was doing 25 sets per muscle group per lift, everything twice a week. So I was doing 50 sets for biceps every week, 25 sets of curls on my first arm day, another 25 the next arm day. And I made gains. I was growing. So what I was doing was working. But I think I would have made the same gains, if not better, if I did literally a third of that volume. Because, I mean, it's just unnecessary junk, you know? So when it comes to like what your working sets should look like and what classifies a working set, you know, we're always saying train to failure, take your sets to failure. Look, that's the goal. But an easier way to look at it is just make sure that every set you push it as hard as you can. You know, on all and basically every set that I did today, I probably could have done one more rep. I probably could have maybe got two more fucking reps on some of those sets. So it's not like you have to hit complete perfect failure or you won't grow at all. Just as long as you're training hard, you're going to grow. You know, regardless of any fucking scientific jargon and BS, if you train hard and you know it, you got a good pump, you're getting bigger and stronger over time, eat your fucking protein in your meals consistently throughout the day. You know, I mean, it's very easy to like use a magnifying glass and pinpoint tiny details of the training. But look, I think it's you know, you're losing the forest looking at the tree. That's the situation we're kind of faced with here. Because working out is such a vast thing. You can look at it from so many different ways and do so many different fucking approaches. But the guys who actually make gains, they couldn't care less about like if you do a meso rep set or a myo rep set for, you know, for 12 with 5 reps in reserve. They don't care. You know, that's only come about as social media has taken fucking hold on everybody. And now every detail about working out is suddenly being talked about by millions of fucking lifters across the world. And the science-based kind of culture has got its foothold very strongly. Now, not to say that's a bad thing, but I mean, fucking rewind time 20 years. The guys who you'd go up to for fucking advice at the gyms would tell you, okay, train hard, eat your fucking food, you know, start eating some chicken and steaks and rice and fucking oatmeal and cream of wheat and everything, and you'll start growing. And people who listened to that advice and took it, guess what? They probably made fucking freakish gains. You know, the only, I think one major difference nowadays, which makes kind of working out, at least once you got indoctrinated back then, you know, for the guys lifting the fucking, you know, early 2000s and 90s type situations, is the guys who actually worked out hard in the gyms would dog on you if you weren't pushing yourself. You know, I see some fucking what's the opposite of intense? I see some leisurely fucking I see some tets t- some te- I see sets taken to a leisurely amount of effort probably 60% of the fucking time, no matter what gym I go to. And that's not going to work. You know, if your sets are fucking easy, you're not going to get any fucking results. That's my shtick. That's my final point. Let's get in the car. I am starving. Back day. Back day complete. Dude, that fucking back lat spread is diabolical. Oh, jeez. Yeah, don't worry. Even, so I may not do back once a week for this whole bulking phase, but definitely for the next at least month or, well, let's just say month and kind of see how I feel, you know? Because let's say 1 month deep, I can immediately have my arms blow up, start working out back again, and trying to keep back from falling behind. But odds are that's not going to happen. You know, it doesn't. Apart from the immediate like 10, 12-ish pounds of weight gain that I got from switching from a diet to now a calorie surplus, which that is a very abrupt change. You know, apart from instances like that, this is a long game, man. You know, this is where your progress is going to be only reasonably noticeable in like pretty much 3 month fucking increments. And I mean that like a muscle gaining kind of way. Of course, if you do 3 months of hardcore, like, not even hardcore, but like if you do 3 months of locked in dieting and you're burning, a pound fucking, I think a pound a week is a pretty solid goal. Some guys are getting up in like 2 pounds a week, but let's say you could get a pound a week of consistent fat loss for 3 months. Dude, that can completely fucking transform the way somebody looks. So, don't get me wrong. You can make pretty quick changes to how your body fucking looks. But in terms of the actual muscle gaining side of things, it is a long game. It is definitely a fucking long game. So, I mean, I can definitely see how that's cause for, maybe not cause for concern, but kind of cause for, anxiety, kind of body dysmorphic thoughts, right? It's like, oh, crap, I'm not where I want to be. Shit. But, I feel like all, or at least most of any kind of issue or like problem or anxiousness or even just fear of anything, it just comes from kind of a lack of real deep understanding. So once you get a grasp of the fact that, okay, if I work out hard and I, diet in a way that's conducive with gains, and I get a good night's rest, and I drink all my fucking water every day, and I train hard. I think I said train hard already, but it's fucking worth saying twice. Then I'm going to make steady progress. And then, that's kind of what I put my outlet into. I want to be bigger. I want to grow muscle, but I don't lay awake at night like, fuck, fuck, I'm not as big as I want to be. Shit, you know? Because I know that I'm doing pretty much everything in my fucking power to be on the right track for the goals that I have set out for myself. So that's easier said once you've done it. You know, for someone who's never lifted before, it can feel pretty daunting, because you don't actually know how hard it's going to be to see even a minor noticeable amount of change in your fucking build, right? I mean, well, everybody wants gains, but not everybody wants to do the work that comes with getting them, because it's kind of, it seems like a fucking chore, definitely. If you're taking, somebody who just does not work out at all, doesn't really focus on their diet in terms of macros or anything, kind of just, eats like a regular dude. When you compare him to somebody who works out all the time, like on the fucking regular, daily, week by week, does cardio, counts his macros, everything else, that feels like a total fucking chore. That's like, oh, it's gonna take over my whole day. It's gonna take over my whole life, man. I don't want to be like a gym rat character. But once you actually start to do it, I mean, once you've gone past that initial 3 month period of working out, and maybe not even 3 months, it might even be shorter than that, 2 month phase, I think the retention period, or the retention percentage, is pretty fucking high. Because once someone has worked out for long enough that they've made noticeable gains, and not necessarily noticeable to everybody else, like not like you're not suddenly getting looks or people are turning around to look at you because you're so big, but once you've noticed, like, holy crap, I'm fucking stronger now, or you're looking at your before and after pictures on your phone and you're like scrolling back and forth between two of them, like you 3 months ago and you now, and you're like, dude, holy fuck, my lats are like way wider. Whoa. Like you do your side chest, and then you do another side chest, so you compare them. Once you get to a point where you can see the results that your work has gotten you, right, you're basically addicted in a good way. But until you get to that point, it kind of sucks. I've said this before. The lifter who hasn't actually seen any results yet he's kind of just shooting blind. Like, if you haven't made any results, even if you're training right, you're eating right, you're getting good rest, like, you're on track, until you've actually noticed, you're kind of just training in the dark. It's like you can kind of get these thoughts that might bubble up, like, oh, what am I even doing? It's like, is this even working? Is this even worth it? But that initial phase, once you get past that, all fucking uphill, because what's going to happen is, yeah, sure, gains do get harder to fucking achieve over time, right? There is a diminishing returns aspect to this sort of thing. But you also get better at working out over time too, So it's like fucking, I mean, gamifying something like this is not a bad approach. You know, you're just fucking grinding right now, trying to level up. So yeah, when you spawn in, you're probably not gonna be able to fight the boss. But as time progresses and you get better at what you're doing, you know, by the time you get there, it might only take you a few fucking tries if you sort of get my logic, get my game logic, you know. So the fact that it's easiest to make gains in the beginning is really fucking lucky. You know, what if making gains in the beginning was like the hardest period? Nobody would fucking work out because nobody would fucking get any results. But that's my point there, you know. So anybody who's lifted for long enough, they get it. They know. I kind of talked about this like a week ago or something. Once you've seen like your first fucking bicep vein, every time you get a new PR, I'm not one for, you know, one rep maxes, of course, but you know, the first time you do 225 for 10, that's a milestone. The first time you see your fucking, you know, your bicep vein, the big one, that's a fucking milestone. The first time you realize you can do a solid ass lat spread, dude, fucking badass. And then, if you're really starting as a beginner, especially if you're kind of younger, I mean, I remember the first time I was on, we went to Florida to visit my grandparents. It's like my whole family. And this was like right when I started working out, only like, well, not only, you know, maybe like a year, like 8 months in or so. And of course, I've still got the beginner sort of mentality, right? I want to kind of appear serious. Like, you know, you go to the gym, it's, it's been a little while, but there was definitely a time where I could tell I would mean mug a little more often than I do now. I don't think I do it all now. I'm kind of so focused on my own training, I don't really think about it. But when you're kind of on the up, or you're on the when you're the underdog of the gym, right? You're the beginner. You're making gains. You kind of want to show off. You kind of want to be serious, you know. But I remember the first time we, my whole family went to the YMCA for a couple hours. Of course, I went because I wanted to work out, but you know they hung out at the pool, like we were playing ping pong and stuff. So, you know, my family came over to the weight section where I was doing shoulder press, and I mean, I'm only fucking like 8 months into working out at the time, and like I was doing I don't know, I think like the 50s or something for shoulder press. And I remember my parents were like, "Hey, you're starting to look like a real fucking lifter now." You know, even next to the guys who are like, I mean, just regular, just regular like older high school to like just college dudes, like young 20s guys. Like they were way bigger than me, of course, but they were kind of like, "Hey, you know what you're doing, shit, dude." Oh, so cool. Not that you should fucking rely on anybody's external like validation, but it does feel nice, you know? So there's just little milestones that happen in really any endeavor. The better that you get at something, the more comfortable that you get doing it. And then the more comfortable you are at something, the easier it is to put more effort into it, you know? Like if you've ever, I mean, this is a pretty fucking perfect example. You ever go off the fucking high dive at your public pool? That shit's fucking scary. You know, it's freaky, man. I've gotten I didn't used to do that. I would only do the little like the low dive really close to the water, so I didn't there was no height involved really. But once I got kind of comfortable on the big one, that's when I could start doing big ass flips there because I'm like, oh, this is my space, I'm used to this. So same thing with fucking working out, same thing with the gym, same thing with, you know, whatever you want to get into. But the process of getting through that initial phase of adjustment and kind of acclimating yourself to the water, and I mean like fish tank style. But now I'm totally losing my train of thought. But yeah, the more comfortable you get at any place in which you're kind of going hard at something, the easier. And the more often that you go to some place, the more comfortable you'll fucking be. You know, so if you're a beginner and you don't really feel like you're making the gains that you should be, or you don't really feel like you know what you're doing yet, and you feel like people are eyeing you up, like, oh, dude, don't sweat it. You know, just keep going. Put your music on. Watch, watch some fucking workout motivation. Drown out anything that is kind of bothering you. Push yourself hard. Fucking perfect. And I can't stress enough. Half of I mean, you won't even notice. Like, you hardly actually notice the fact that you're getting better at working out. It just kind of happens, you know? You're just gaining experience, right? You don't feel yourself getting more mature as you age. but it happens. It's just kind of just something to think about. So all I'm really saying there is get consistent. Get fucking consistent. So I'm gonna try to cross traffic without getting killed. And I'll see you tomorrow for arms. Oh, that'll be a good one too.